Hey folks, we're here with a different project today, boat winterization. Whether you're fishing, cruising, or wakeboarding, you're in freshwater, saltwater, your boat motor puts up with a lot, and following up with a good maintenance schedule is critical to ensuring it stays reliable season after season. And one of the most critical jobs is making sure it's ready for hibernation when you finally take it out of the water in the fall. This maintenance routine also extends beyond the engine itself, and you'll need to inspect the service of your prop, your battery, and other key components. The fall season is also a perfect time to inspect your trailer for regular wear and tear, checking things like working brake lights, good wheel bearing lubrication, and the condition of your keel roller. We'll walk you through these key bits of maintenance you need to address to help you get your boat and trailer ready for winter storage. One of the first things I do when I yank the boat out of the water is I take a look at my prop. And that is definitely something that you want to do when you take the boat out at the end of the year. You should inspect the prop for dings, chips. When inspecting the prop, be sure to have a rag or a nice set of work gloves. These blades can get razor sharp. Also, if the engine of your boat sounds like it's working too hard, envision this prop as a set of ring and pinion in your car. This is your gear ratio, and you can change how much that engine is under load and speed. There is a set RPM guide in your owner's manual, and that will make sure your boat is the most efficient and having the most amount of fun that day on the water. So the first step here in changing the lower gear case oil, you're gonna take this drain plug and remove it. I like to leave the vent screw in still. So we're gonna unscrew this, and it kind of allows you to position your drain pan and make sure it's in a good spot. Now when you do this, you want to inspect these screw gaskets and see if they are in good condition still, but I do like to change them every year. So we'll just go ahead, we'll take this vent screw out, and you'll see it start to drain much faster. And you'll want to inspect this to make sure it looks in good condition. There's no milkiness, discoloration. That'll tell you if your lower prop seal is leaking and letting water into the gear drive. So when filling your out drive up and changing your gear case oil at the end of the season, you always want to take your vent screw out, and you're going to take your fill and drain screw and fill from the bottom up. That way you don't get stuck with any air bubbles and ensure proper case fillage. You'll want to take this and fill it until you see fluid start to weep from the top vent hole. So we're about here to the top, filling the out drive up. And once we get there and we get a little bit of seepage out of this top vent screw, we're gonna put the screw in that hole to seal it. That'll help keep gravity from draining the gear case before we get this drain plug back in. There we go, we're good. I like to also change these O-rings out every year. When you buy one of the Quicksilver maintenance kits, they do have those in there. After changing the gear case oil, I like to get the engine set up with a set of muffs, start the engine, let it run for a little bit to get it up to temperature. Just like doing an oil change on a car, you want to have it flow out nice and easy. Also at that time, I can check the condition of the impeller, making sure that stream is nice and steady. If you notice any weak stream, you want to get that changed before the next year. All right, that's good. All right, now that we have the engine somewhat warmed up, we're going to perform an oil change. This is going to be very, very similar to your standard automotive oil change. What we do is we're going to open up the hood, which they refer to as a cowl. You're going to have your spin-on filter. You're going to have your oil drain. Get the oil drain started. When replacing your drain plug, just like the screws at the bottom, I always like to install a new crush washer. Make sure I don't have any surprises for the next year. Now we're going to move on to changing the oil filter. I like to take some paper towels, stick them underneath the oil filter to keep any residual oil from dripping down into the top of the outboard case. There we go. Once again, now we're gonna install our no oil filter. Just like a car oil change, you wanna make sure that your oil filter gasket is not stuck to the engine, because that can cause you a surprise when you fire it up the first time. I'm using a Quicksilver oil filter and their oil. They manufacture these products at OE standards. So go ahead and remove our oil fill cap. Take a look, make sure O-ring's in good shape. All right, we're gonna fire it up just for a quick second, just to get the oil through the system. And we'll check to make sure we got enough in there. Good to go. So one of the last things we're gonna do today on this engine is we're gonna take the spark plugs out, visually inspect them, change them, and we're also gonna fog the cylinders. Our next step here is we're gonna fog the cylinders. Fogging a cylinder, if you haven't done it, this will help prevent rust from starting on the inside of the cylinder wall. So we're just gonna take our fog it, shake the can. We're gonna go down into the spark plug hole. 3-4 seconds worth of spray. And then you wanna cycle the engine. I'm gonna use the pull start on this one. You wanna get that oil coated up and down the cylinder wall. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more. All right, we're gonna replace the spark plugs, and this motor is pretty much ready for winter. All right, so since we have the cowl off and we already fogged the inside of the engine, we're gonna take some of this Quicksilver corrosion guard and just kind of lightly mist the exterior. This is safe to get on wiring and hoses and plastic pieces. This will keep the inside of your outboard lubricated, rust-free, and looking great. Another crucial piece of equipment is a good battery maintainer. I'm a sportsman. I usually use my boat for fishing, so I've actually got 3 batteries on this boat. So I use a NOCO 10 amp times 2. This will keep my batteries in great condition over the winter season and make sure I don't have to do any type of replacements in the springtime. So fuel treatment is also very, very important in marine maintenance. What it does is it treats any of that ethanol that's in your fuel tank, in your lines. The best way to handle that is don't put it in to begin with. Try to find yourself some off-road grade ethanol-free fuel. Keep that in your tank, but this will preserve anything in your tank and keep it stable, so when you get it back out in a few months, you're ready to go. Here's something a little different. This is what most of you car guys are gonna be used to. This is what we call a stern drive, where the engine is your standard automotive style engine, of course marinized. And being a stern drive, the prop is directly connected to the output shaft or the crankshaft of the engine. Winterization for these are gonna be very similar. You're gonna check your oil, change your oil, your filter. One of the most important things you wanna check here is your spark arrestor. These spark arrestors, if not clean, they can ignite. And the last thing you wanna have is a boat on fire when you're in the middle of the water. It's not a good scenario. The biggest takeaway for winterizing an inboard, outboard, or a stern drive is you want to get all of the water out of the block. This thing sits over winter with water in the block. You have a very strong potential of cracking the block. So what we're going to do is we're going to start this thing. We're going to get it up to running temperature, let it idle a little bit. So we're going to run RV antifreeze through the block until it starts coming out the exhaust manifolds in the back, and we know that all the water is out of this thing and it is safe to park for winter time. So we're gonna go ahead and get this thing fired up right now. So we've got our engine warmed up to temp. We've got our 3 gallons of antifreeze here. We're gonna set this short piece of hose in here. The motor's already been primed with water, So it should act like a siphon effect, and we're gonna start sucking in the antifreeze. Make sure we get pink out the exhaust manifolds and we're good. So we're gonna take a look at the flame arrestor here, make sure it's in good shape for next year. This one's sitting on top of a nice Edelbrock 1409 marine carburetor. Make sure everything is nice and clean, no oil buildup or anything like that. Take your little bit of carburetor cleaner. Make sure it looks good inside and out for next season. All right, so here we are now at the front of the trailer. We're gonna do a little bit of maintenance and visual inspection. My trailer is about 2-3 years old, and I noticed at the mid part of the season, this front bow roller was starting to get chewed up a little bit. I use the winch a lot to pull it on instead of powering the boat onto the trailer. So it's a good time also to check your winch strap to make sure it's in good condition. You wanna lubricate that. You wanna check your safety chain. You also want to check your lighting connection to make sure your plug is still in good shape. This one actually probably needs to be changed out here before we put the boat away. And the biggest thing we're going to do right now is we are going to change this bow roller. We do have these in various sizes and shapes depending on the trailer. All right, we're all set there. Well, while we're walking around the trailer, go ahead and take a look at your wheel bearings, make sure they're in good shape. I recently changed this one. It failed probably about 2 months ago and almost set me off the side of the road. So make sure you really do pay attention to those because it can ruin a day fast. If you have metal fenders, check those, make sure they're in good shape, make sure everything's securely fastened. All right, last but not least, on the back of the trailer, take a look at your lights. Trailer lights on any trailer, marine or not, they seem to be one of the most replaced items out there. But I did get these submersible LED taillights from TH Marine. This will get you back on the road, make sure you're legal, and everybody can see you going down the street. So we're wrapped up here. A couple key points that we need to do is prop inspection. We change our lower gear unit oil. We change our engine oil. We got the water out of our inboard. We also did trailer maintenance. Marine maintenance is very important to make sure you have a successful, fun spring. You know, being out on the water, being surprised is never good. There's really no tow trucks out there and you gotta rely on somebody else. Thanks again. Check us out on YouTube. Like and subscribe for the latest content, and we'll see you on the water.